Sales hit a record high last year, up 3.6% compared with the year before. The power giant attributed that to the hot and humid weather, as well as the increasing population and infrastructure. But CLP said the growing demand, along with tightening emission standards, means electricity charges will likely be going up.
Primarily it's because we have to double our volume of gas to meet the tightened emission targets for this year. And the new gas supply is quite a lot more expensive than the old gas supply. So we continue to expect pressure on our tariffs.
Still, CLP stressed this year's 3.1% tariff increase, which took effect from January 1st, is below inflation. Aware that the scheme of control agreements covering the two power firms will expire in 2018, CLP said it welcomes discussions with the government on market reform and fuel mix proposals.
We understand that the Hong Kong government is looking to consult the public on the future regulatory arrangement, and we of course will be participating in that consultation exercise.
To meet the city's growing demand for electricity, the power company is now exploring additional gas sources and looking into the possibility of installing gas-fired generation facilities in Hong Kong. Liz Yun, TVB News.
The Liberal Party will propose limiting the number of Shenzhen visitors to Hong Kong at the upcoming NPC and CPPCC meetings in Beijing. That move comes as part of efforts to rein in parallel goods trading. Our Stephanie Choi files this final report.
Representatives from the Liberal Party will propose limiting permanent Shenzhen residents to one visit to Hong Kong per day to help relieve tension between local residents and grey goods traders. Right now, Shenzhen residents can come to Hong Kong as many times as they want with their multiple entry permits.
When the individual travel scheme was brought out in 2003, it was for the purpose of tourism. Subsequently, the regulation was relaxed to enable one permit multi-entry to save people having to apply it every time. But then it would seem that the one permit multi-entry has been abused by the parallel importers. So our proposal is really to address the abuse.
Another honorary party chairwoman, Selina Chow, who is a member of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, said it's all about striking a balance between maintaining Hong Kong's competitiveness as a tourism hub and reducing the friction sparked by parallel goods trading. The Liberal Party will also suggest extending the individual visit scheme to more mainland cities, such as Harbin, Qingdao and Xi'an, to help promote tourism in Hong Kong. Representatives from the Federation of Trade Unions will also be attending the meetings to reflect to mainland officials local sentiment towards tourists from across the border. They said today they have not come up with any proposals on the issue. And local National People's Congress Deputy Stanley Ng of the FTU, who said he'll propose at the annual meetings implementing national security laws in Hong Kong, did not disclose further details about his plans. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
To Afghanistan, where avalanches caused by a heavy winter snow have killed more than 180 people in the country's north. Rescuers are searching through the snowy debris for missing people after a blizzard triggered the worst avalanches in 30 years. The area hit the hardest appears to be the Panjshir province. That's where hundreds of homes were buried under snow, and authorities now face a major humanitarian crisis. Melting snow has flooded many roads and disrupted traffic. It also damaged power facilities and triggered large-scale blackouts.
Israel's prime minister is accusing world powers of having given up on stopping Iran from developing nuclear weapons. Benjamin Netanyahu's comments are the latest sign of escalating tension between the United States and Israel, less than a week before he makes a Republican-engineered congressional speech. James Aiken reports.
The Israeli leader's comments came as U.S. and Iranian officials reported progress in negotiations on a deal that would clamp down on Tehran's nuclear activities for at least 10 years, but then slowly ease restrictions. Ahead of a general election on March 17th, Netanyahu told a meeting of his Likud party that it seems from the agreement that is forming that world powers have accepted that Iran will gradually develop nuclear weapons capabilities. Netanyahu's judgment on the deal is being openly questioned by the Obama administration.
Israel is safer today with the added time we have given and the stoppage of the advances in the Iranian nuclear program than they were before we got that agreement, which, by the way, the Prime Minister opposed. He was wrong.
Meanwhile, the U.S. National Security Advisor says Netanyahu's invitation to Congress and his acceptance of it have injected partisanship into the relationship between the two countries.
Which is not only unfortunate, I think it's destructive of the fabric of the relationship. It's always been bipartisan. We need to keep it that way. We want it that way. I think Israel wants it that way. The American people want it that way. And when it becomes injected or infused with politics, that's a problem.
Netanyahu's address to Congress was orchestrated by Republican leaders without the Obama administration's knowledge. Some Democratic lawmakers decided to skip the speech after Netanyahu turned down an invitation to meet with them privately. There are no plans for the U.S. president to meet with Netanyahu while he is in Washington. James Aiken, TVB News.
An attempt to get into the groove ended in a tumble down the stairs as the Queen of Pop performed at the Brit Awards in London yesterday. Madonna was closing